We're on location today with Gayle Geisenhoff from Success Mortgage, and we're here to talk about just another step in the home buying process, which is obtaining a mortgage. So, what is your role in the home buying process?
My role in the home buying process is really to help people obtain their financing. They need to come to me to secure money to purchase a home.
There's a lot that needs to be done when you're buying a home. So, Gayle, just from a lender's aspect, what do they need to do in order to obtain a mortgage?
Good question. From a lending perspective, really they need to, there's a couple of important things in being approved for a mortgage. One of them is, what kind of credit do you have? Credit is like your history of borrowing and paying back money. So what kind of credit do they have? And surprisingly, younger people come to me sometimes with no credit. And that's not a good situation to be in. Having no credit is not better than having, good credit. So an underwriter wants to see that they have a history of being able to borrow money and pay it back. So sometimes it's important that they come to me 6 months even in advance, and let's pull your credit report. Let's see what kind of credit you have. Let's see if you have any credit. And I can take you from that stage of, no credit to having a decent credit score. Credit scoring is complex, and some people really focus on their credit score, but ideally they have to have a history of credit.
Right. There's so many lenders out there. Why is it important to choose the right lender?
That's a really good question. I have people come and sit across from the desk from me and say, why should I work with you? And I'll say, buying a house is a very complicated process. You have your realtor who will help you through the purchasing of the home, to choosing the home, choosing the right home, and then negotiating the price of the home. But then there's also the piece that you have to get your money for the home. And finding the person or team that you're working with to get your financing is equally as important, because there's 100 things that can go wrong in the lending process. I mean, probably more than 100, probably thousands of things that can go wrong.
There's a lot of moving parts.
There's a lot of moving parts, and it's very complicated, and you have to be very detailed as a lender. When you come here, you and I are going to be related for a few days, for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, however long it takes
to know each other.
We get to know each other well.
Yes.
Exactly. Because we talk on a daily basis most times. But what we need to do is get you from point A to point Z, and in doing that, there's something almost every day that you can be working on that I'm working on. But I'm not going to pass you on to another committee. Now that I have your whole story and I have a personal understanding of what it is you're trying to do, I'm not going to pass you off onto the next team that's going to now take you to step B. I work with people that had got mortgages 5 or 10 years ago, and they can't believe the hoops that we have to jump through now to get a mortgage.
It's very different.
Yeah. The last thing you want to hear is that you're declined, for a mortgage, or you're denied a mortgage because... So it's really important that you know who it is you're working with, and that you get to talk to them when you need to talk to them.
Yep. Home buying, it's like time is of the essence, and there's nothing worse than not getting an answer really quickly. I mean, if you're not getting it that day, you might be too late on the house.
So, well, it's competitive nowadays. There's 5 or 6 buyers for every home that's for sale. So you've got to have your ducks in a row, and you got to be ready. And that's kind of to take it one step further. I'm not a 24/7 have my phone at my face person. But I know when my clients are out looking for a home, I know they're with you, and that they may have questions, especially if they're tight with their money. And and I'm not going to leave them hanging, which is a kind of a sales thing that I've told people. Your credit union's not going to answer you on Sunday when you're out looking for a house. So make sure you're ready to go. One thing I wanted to mention too, we do have one thing that makes Success Mortgage Partners a little bit different than going down the street to Flagstar Bank or to one of the larger banks, is we have in-house underwriting. So I have a personal relationship with the underwriter, the person that's going to make the decision on whether you get your money or not. And I can walk upstairs and retell that story. And if there's a question or if there's a challenge, I can go upstairs and talk to them and explain what it is we're trying to do and how legitimate and reasonable we are being with trying to get this person some financing. So that's really important. People, I think, don't recognize the importance of that. I've worked in banks myself, and to take an application and then have to ship that to the corporate underwriting 3 states away, it's very different than having somebody in-house that you can talk to.
So home ownership is a dream, and it's something that, if you want to own a home and you have questions, please don't be afraid to ask. So you can come to me, you can ask Gayle. I do have a lot of people that contact me and they're kind of afraid of like what their credit's going to be like.
Find.
Yeah, like what's going to come up. Oh my gosh, like it's like this, I don't know, it's like it's got this weird stigma, like, oh, your credit report. But don't be afraid to find out what your credit is, to ask questions, even if it's, refinancing or, your first time home buyer, or you've bought a few homes before. Your credit changes so much. So, if you have any questions about buying a home or the lending process, don't be afraid to ask. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.